Welcome back to another episode of Transformation Talks. I am your host, Sam Forget, and today we'll be joined by Brooke Rosenfeld, who is a registered dietitian and nutrition coach who helps people lose weight, improve their lifestyle, and improve their lifestyle without eliminating food groups or fad diets. Brooke, I very much appreciate you being here.
I am so excited to be here.
It's truly a pleasure to have you. And like I was telling you off air, but I want to repeat now, since the end of season one, I've still been thinking about the guests that I would want to have on if I did revisit a second season. So, I mean, only 3 or 4 weeks ago now, when I pulled the trigger on season two, you were the first person I reached out to because literally everything you post, I find myself reading and just going like, "Fuck yeah!" Like I wish you had 5 million followers because I just think
Oh,
the thing truly like the things you post are so relevant and actionable, and it just cuts through so much of the fluff that we see in our industry. So this is a very long-winded. I'm very very excited to have you here again. I do appreciate it.
oh my gosh. Well, I can say the exact same for your content, and I love what you post, and you inspire me a lot. So to be able to meet you and talk to you is like definitely honored to also be the first guest too of this season.
Well, thank you so much for that. I do think a great place for us to start would be with your background, because I think an important distinction for a lot of people is the difference between a registered dietitian and like what that means in terms of your academic and professional background versus, nutrition coach, nutritionist. Like there are so many different types of people that say they can help you with your nutrition, and perhaps they can, but a registered dietitian is very much on a pedestal in terms of your training and your expertise. So I'd love if you could kind of walk everybody through, what that actually looks like, your background, and then the way that you're helping people now.
Yeah, to become a registered dietitian, you have to get a certain amount of hours under your belt. After you have, I think now you have to have a master's degree. You have to go through an internship. And I don't even know the amount of hours that you need now. At the time that I got my RD, I had to have 1,200 practice hours under my belt before I could sit for the exam to become a registered dietitian. Um, so yeah, like there is quite a bit of training that does go into it. And it's funny, I unfortunately, when I was in school, private practice, at least at my school, was not really like pushed or discussed. It was really more heavily geared towards clinical. So, working in like hospitals and nursing homes. And that's where I ended up for many years. And I just stopped doing that like a couple of months ago. And I had started my private practice around COVID, actually. So, but I had always been like working with people in the community, like here and there, but primarily doing clinical. But I'm for a while now, I have been just doing my private practice, which I also do take insurance now, which is cool. Like that's been interesting to navigate, to say the least.
I
I'm
bet.
very grateful for my biller because it's complicated, let me tell you.
I bet.
It is something. But it's super rewarding. I do have a soft spot, special place in my heart for the elderly, just because I've worked with them for so long. But yeah, so that's a little bit about what I've been doing, where I come
Yeah, no,
from.
that's super interesting. Again, I think, we often live in a world that ties so heavily nutrition with it just being a vehicle to facilitate weight loss and kind of forgetting that nutrition plays many roles in our lives. And you obviously saw so much of that, in your background at the nursing home and then in a hospital setting. So can you share a little bit more about the types of things that you would help your patients and clients with? Again, I just think it's so easy for us to get in this little echo chamber of, calorie deficit, protein, et cetera, which of course has this place that's important for a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people, but nutrition is broader than that. So can you fill us in a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, when I was working in these settings, I was working with very, very sick people, primarily people who were like in the, later part of their lives, but also I did unfortunately have some very young people too with like cerebral palsy and like, people who were bedbound at a very young age. It's very sad. Um, but yeah, I've helped people who, they have diabetes, chronic kidney disease, like they're missing limbs from very poor health for their lives, dependent on dialysis, heart failure. And it's funny because it's not funny, actually. I shouldn't say that. But something that I have heard people say to me multiple times is, I wish I had started sooner on taking better care of themselves. So, but being up close with these people and seeing what they go through, and like, I mean, Sam, some of these people take over 20 medications a day. Like, it's very sad. And I think people do tend to take things like that for granted, take their health for granted. I definitely don't, because I've just seen up front like what people do have to deal with when they haven't taken very good care of themselves. And of course, some things are genetic and we can't necessarily help those things. But
Yeah.
a lot of the reason why these people are in the condition they're in is because of poor lifestyle choices.
Yeah. I mean, I always think of the analogy of, perhaps we all drive a little bit too fast on the highway, knowing that it could bite us in the butt at some point. Maybe we'll get pulled over, but unfortunately, it does often take us thinking we see a cop, or maybe actually getting pulled over and getting a warning, or maybe
Yeah,
just getting the damn ticket, or worse, for us to say, okay, I should probably get my act together. And then, to be honest, enough time passes, we tend to get a little bit greedy again. We start driving a little bit faster. And I have found that to be the case for a lot of people from a health perspective of, okay, we know the things we should be focusing on, but maybe it takes things getting away from us a little bit, getting a kick in the butt in some shape or form to say, okay, I got that ticket. That was the wake up call I needed. Let me, in this case, drive a little more safely, make better food and lifestyle decisions.
yeah, yeah. I call that an oh shit moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I try to instill in people like, hey, don't get to the oh shit moment.
Hmm.
You know what I
I
mean?
think
Like,
it's, yeah, especially from a lifestyle, body composition health perspective. Like, it may suck now. It may be very difficult to make these changes that we're talking about, but this is I know it's cliche, but this is the easiest it will ever be, because if things keep compounding as they are for another 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, it's just going to be a bigger and bigger uphill battle. And I say that not to discourage anybody, of course,
no,
and say that it's this insurmountable journey, but giving a little more consideration to that future version of yourself. Like, okay, I don't want to focus on these things now. Another analogy I always use is like paying off a credit card bill. Like, no, the bill doesn't look great now. You want to stuff it in the junk drawer. But if you don't address it, the version of you, even 12 months from now, is going to have that much bigger credit card bill to work on. So
yeah,
I think making more decisions with that version of yourself in mind, and almost like being a little bit more considerate of them and what they might have to deal with if you don't get ahead of stuff now.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think I think what it comes down to is people do take a lot for granted. And I think that people do. And as I've gotten older, like I'm almost 40 now, which like is shocking to say out loud. I'm like, what? But as I've gotten older, like how I coach has changed a lot. And, the majority of the people that come to work with me, they honestly just, they're like, I just want to feel better. I want to be here for my kids, for my grandkids. I want to be able to just function better. And that's kind of like, I feel like my coaching is more in line with that.
Hmm.
And I think, yeah, I'm sure like you work with a lot of people who feel that way too.
Definitely.
But something I talk about with my clients all the time is like, we need to keep in mind, like, what do we want our future to look like? How do we want to feel, not just right now, but like, days from now, months from now, years from now?
Definitely. So you mentioned that your coaching style has evolved a little bit over time with that in mind.
Yeah.
What are some of those shifts that you've made? Do you think it's just the things that you are emphasizing with your clients, the conversations that you're having? Is there anything tactical? You've shifted away from this, you've changed your mind on things. Like, how would you say your coaching approach has evolved over time?
I think when I first started, it was more, and people would come to me and oh, I want to look better. I want to look better. I want to look better. And what I did was not that I didn't focus on other things, but we weren't having these as deep of conversations that I might be having with them now. Um, because I had worked for, before I went off on my own, I was working for like a macro. It was like, they gave people macros to follow, and, their style was more geared towards like, appearance, which that doesn't really resonate with me as much now. Like I'm all for like, okay, like I want to be like strong as fuck, like as an old lady, like I want to be able to like get up and down off the toilet and like bring my groceries in and, like drive and like just be able to like travel and, do things that I enjoy, and take care of myself and be independent. So that's kind of, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that I think kind of works seamlessly with this is that a lot of the highest yield focal points for, say, managing hunger and improving digestion and making it easier to lose body fat and having more energy while in a deficit are also many of the things that again improve overall energy and overall health. It's like a lot of the same focal points kind of go back to that same core group. And I'm blanking on who I was speaking to about this recently, but like whether we're talking about getting as healthy as possible, getting as ripped as possible, getting strong as fuck, like no matter the goal, it's almost like the ingredients are roughly the same.
Yes.
It's just the kind of doses of those ingredients and the application looks a little different.
Yes.
So, a year and a half ago now, I did my first physique show. And yes, that's extreme by most standards in terms of how lean I had to get and how strict the diet was. But I'd say 80% of it was similar to what I would focus on, even if I'm just in a maintenance phase. The only difference is, again, how hard I pulled those levers. So, like, same ingredients, dose was just a lot bigger. And then in
Yes.
that case, the duration as well. So, I find that almost to be like this. I don't know if comforting is the right word, but just in a world of so much information surrounding nutrition, it's like we almost always go back to the same bulleted list in an email or an Instagram story or post. I'm
Yeah.
like, if you haven't heard, it's probably these six things, just in varying doses, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, the basics, like they work,
Hmm.
and it's not the stuff that goes viral. Like,
Never.
ooh, walk more and eat more protein and eat more fiber and get good
Totally.
sleep. It
Hmm.
doesn't really have the same, it's not like as sexy as like some other like extreme stuff that's posted online that gets a lot of views, but it's like not the
Yeah,
best
like
for
kind
you, you know?
I mean, that's why I started this conversation by saying, I wish you had 5 million followers because the
Yeah,
information you put out is phenomenal. But since you're
thank you.
not purposefully polarizing for the sake of, arguments in the comment and views and clicks, it's almost like it doesn't reach as much of an audience as I wish that it would. But honestly, I guess if you're listening to this and you're wondering, like, how do I decipher, what's good information and what's not, as straightforward as it sounds, if it is like if it does sound radical, this one berry from Brazil can speed up your metabolism by 40%. Probably not true. And if it was,
Probably.
I'd be eating that berry every day.
Me
Like I would
too.
be
Me
happy.
too. If you figure that out, let
100%.
me know.
Yes, yes. And honestly, so a little bit of a sidebar here. One of the questions we got in advance, and I know we have similar takes on it, was our thoughts on the weighted vest trend. And I think we can touch upon this, but then also go a little bit more macro and kind of how to analyze, how to look at trends in general. So just to make sure we actually answer the question that was submitted, what are your thoughts on the weighted vest trend?
Yeah, I think not necessary. I think that I do have some clients that do like to wear them when they walk. and, feel, because they're really not people who lift weights, like they weren't ready to necessarily do that, but they're like, oh, like, I just want to add a little bit of resistance to my routine, so I'm going to wear a weighted vest, and they like it. So I was like, that's fine, but is it necessary? I would say no.
Yeah, not nearly as life changing as, and again, to our point about like, how do I know if one of these claims is true? Like what we're talking about right here, these last 20 seconds would be the most boring Instagram reel of all time. And like, it's fine. That's not a knock on your take because you have like a truthful, like, tell it how it is to, yeah, like, it's
Yeah.
fine. It's not that you're
Yeah,
boring.
it's
It's just,
fine.
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, if you want to wear it,
Exactly.
great. So that's a good example of, okay. Like if you watch that reel, you go, okay, sounds good. You wouldn't be in the comments arguing about that. There's nothing really to latch onto and get
Yeah.
emotional about. Whereas if I said, to go back to this metabolic example, if you wear this weighted vest and you make sure you exceed this many pounds, this many minutes, we've seen that your metabolism spikes 417%. Oh, okay, that's a red flag that it's probably
Yeah.
not the case. And by probably, certainly not. I will say, with the weighted vest trend specifically, just to like, I guess, throw in one last consideration, I think for some people, if that novelty factor gets them moving a little bit of like, okay, if it feels like I'm doing something, it's certainly not harmful as long as that person is well aware that it's not magical. If throwing on a weighted vest incentivizes you to move a little bit more, great. I'm all for that.
Yes.
That's one of those things. It's, there's nothing bad happening. And if it like you feel more motivated when you have it on, great. As long as it doesn't also go too far where you feel like an unweighted walk, which I guess would just be a regular walk, is like as long as you don't feel like that's not worth it.
Yes.
um, so okay, so there's our take on the weighted vest trend, and again, just some general considerations for um, trying to decipher what's legit and what's not in the online coaching space, or I should say, in the online health, fitness, nutrition space. Um,
Yeah.
Brooke, another question we got beforehand: thoughts on navigating nutrition labels. I think most people maybe just go straight to calories. Maybe they're looking at if you see, reduced fat or, high protein on the label, but what should people actually be looking at?
Yeah, so I always tell people to pay attention to the serving size because I feel like, Sam, I don't know if you like would agree with me, but I feel like over the years they've gotten so sneaky.
Yes.
And like, so it's like, for example, this place that I love to go eat not far from me, like they have these really good iced tea drinks. And I was like, oh, okay, 60 calories, like not bad. And then I look at the label and it's like two servings in one little bottle. And I was like, no one's drinking
Half
half
that.
the bottle. And I was like, I mean, 120 calories. Okay. Like, I mean, I could make that fit into my day, but I'd prefer not to drink my calories. So I was like, those sneaky bastards. But anywho, like you have to pay attention to that because they try and make it seem like it's, lower in calorie than it might be. But then you look at the servings and it's like, oh, that's for like this whole thing. So it's like really like a 500 calorie pack or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people don't really read that as carefully as they should.
Yeah, or maybe
Um,
choose not. Maybe choose not to at times. Just like, okay,
or
yeah,
that too. That too. And it's funny with like marketing terms too. Like I remember, and I don't know if they do this anymore because I haven't bought a bag of gummy bears for a while, but I remember like back in the day, it would be like fat free. And it's like, yeah,
yeah,
it's candy though. Like, you know what
yeah.
I mean? So I think that, first of all, what I would say to people is eating more things that are like whole, minimally processed foods as much as possible that don't have a label is like the way to go as much as possible. I'm not saying don't eat things with a label, but like a potato is a potato is a potato, you know?
Mhm. Yes.
So I would say, like keep that in mind. But I would also pay attention to, make sure that you're getting adequate protein. Um, Looking at like the fiber, you want to make sure that you're getting enough fiber. I don't know what that person specifically wanted to know in regard to the food label itself, because I feel like that could be like a very intricate discussion around like reading
Sure.
a food label. But I would say for people to just know that marketing is, they're clever. They want you to buy their product and think it's this like healthy thing, and they'll do whatever they can to make it more appealing to your eye. So
Yeah. No, those are great suggestions, and you make a great point about serving sizes. And for some reason, maybe it's because I used to like them so much, but the example that always comes to mind is a Pop Tart, because a serving is half the package. So if you look at the label, it'll say 210 calories. Oh, that's not bad. I get two little pastries, and then it's serving one pastry. I'm not unwrapping what is a non-resealable wrapper, just having one brown sugar cinnamon Pop Tart, and then I mean, I'm not saying I mean, I could, I guess, if I wanted to, but when I was younger, that wasn't happening. So that's just a
no.
simple example of I saw 210. Okay, not too bad. 410. 410 is a little bit different. That might be 25% of somebody's calories for the day.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and then to your point about marketing, I just posted a video about two powdered peanut butters. One was labeled high protein and one was not. The one that was not labeled high protein, I mean, they're both not great sources of protein, as we know, but the one that was not labeled as high protein, it was just one more gram, but it did have one more gram than the source that was labeled with high protein. And then again,
Yeah.
both of them are not even great sources of protein. So yeah, I think, like you said, looking at the serving sizes, absolutely, because those can be easy to assume. Or, for the sake of double checking, the examples that we all know of cereal, olive oil, peanut butter. I'm trying to think of the stuff that always shocks people of, oh my God, like I wasn't even close.
Yeah, creamer. I don't know if you just said creamer, but coffee creamer. I mean, and just coffee beverages in general, like at Starbucks and stuff, they are bombs of calories for the most part.
Hmm.
Like bombs. Like, and I know Dunkin' too. Some of their drinks are like, I think near 1,000 calories. Crazy. And they are not going to make you feel full
Yeah,
at
yeah.
all.
Yes. I mean, if you think the analogy that everybody likes, right, of, well, calorie counting is like budgeting, calories are like dollars, that's a really fucking expensive drink. If your calorie budget is 1,400 and you're spending even 300 to 400 calories on anything liquid, that's like having, I'm going to make this up, $4,000 a month to spend and buying a $2,000 bag. You might technically be able to get away with it, but things are going to feel way tighter than they need to. You're going to like
Ugh.
suffer the rest of the month from a restraint standpoint, because that was such an expensive thing. You now have to pay the price somewhere else if you want to stay within that budget.
Yes, 100%. And I think that that's like, I'm even shocked because I don't go to Dunkin' or Starbucks. Like, I just make my own coffee at home. But I know that a lot of my clients would make those runs in the morning and they're like, oh, wow, yeah, like I've been having like $800, 800 calories, the money analogy. But yeah,
Yes.
so I've been having 800 calories every morning and not even feeling at all full from it. And it's just like so eye opening. And that's why I love tracking, because it's just, yeah, you do get those aha moments like all the time. And it really helps people. It helps with structure. Like you learn so much. It's really an incredible tool that we have.
And I love that label for it, a tool, because that makes it feel like this neutral educational thing.
Yeah,
And yet again, on social media right now, you have very loud groups of people who say that it's inherently obsessive or disordered and all these things. And certainly for some people, some of the time, it may not be a great fit. But for the rest of us, when we do think of it as exactly what you mentioned, Brooke, this is a tool that's going to increase my awareness and allow for better decision making. We're not saying that this coffee is inherently bad, it's the worst thing in the world, but probably not in heavy rotation for most people. And you may not otherwise be aware of its impact because it's probably small in your hand. It's just so calorie dense. It's not like it takes up, there's not a ton of volume you're getting, and you can
right.
consume it in 17 minutes on the way to work. So if you aren't tracking it, it would then be understandable to assume that it's not really making a huge difference. It's just this little thing that I have before work. And then you plug it in, you go, holy shit. Like that's a lot. That's very different than I thought.
It's insane. And yeah, to that note, one of my clients the other day, like, she was telling me that she's like, I've been leaving off my coffee creamer like throughout the day, like because she has a few cups of coffee. And she was like, oh, yeah, like it's like, I think it was not far off from like 100 calories each time. So I think when people really start to get a handle on those bite, lick, sips, and taste, they're just like,
Mhm.
oh, like, and that alone, like just being more mindful of that, it's like, it's a game changer, I think. And I also think that some of my clients, they don't even really track meticulously, but it's just that increased awareness that they start to see shifts in the right direction because
Mhm.
it's mindfulness.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always tell my clients the goal is not tracking perfectly, which, as we both know, is not even possible. There's a margin of error allowed on every label.
That's
The
something
goal
else
is
we should
just,
have mentioned with the
oh,
food
true. Yeah,
labels, but
yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
Backtracking.
off.
No, 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 no. Fire away. Hold on. I lost my train of thought. Let me circle back to it. What was the last thing you said?
I'm sorry. We were talking
It's
about,
okay. It's
you had
okay.
said that food labels aren't
Oh,
even,
I got it now.
yes,
I got it.
yes, yes.
So that's the other thing is our goal here. We're talking about being aware. We're not saying you have to win some tracking award for complete precision. So I always tell my clients the goal is not tracking perfectly accurately. The goal is tracking accurately enough to facilitate the outcomes that you're after. Now, if I'm working with a woman who's 5'2", 147 pounds, sedentary with weight loss goals, yeah, she's going to have to be a bit more precise because the gap between her maintenance, which might be 1600, and the target deficit, that's not a big gap. So we can erase it
Yeah,
very quickly. I
yeah.
also have a client who recently went from about 240 pounds. Now he's down to 195, and we're practicing maintenance. I'm not having him use a food scale for anything because he's developed enough skill to be able to track accurately enough for maintenance outcomes. He does not need to get absolutely every little thing on a scale the way that I might tell that smaller woman with weight loss goals, like, hey, you got to be a bit more precise. So again,
Right.
it's not a matter of, can you track purposely accurately? It's like, are we seeing the outcomes that we're after? If the answer is no, maybe, I said maybe, probably we have to be a bit more precise, but that's not the North Star. The North Star is seeing whatever the outcome is. And then, like you said, the tracking just becomes a tool to facilitate that.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, though, too, it's like, if you have zero background in nutrition, you've never tracked your food before, you don't know anything about portion sizes, calories, whatnot, tracking is like, it's going to help you so much. And, I feel like when people call it disordered and stuff like that, it's like a lot of times the people that I've seen do that are like people who have meticulously tracked their food or gone to school for a million years studying food. I'm like, some random person who has no idea has maybe had one class in high school taught by their gym teacher, which that was me before I went. I tell the story, but like my gym teacher was like Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and he would like read out of a text. I don't know if you know that cartoon.
No, I don't.
But anyway, you should look him up. That was
Okay, I
Mr.
will.
Peterson. But anyway, so like the amount of nutrition information I got up until college was basically that one class taught by that guy who read out of a textbook, and it was like probably extremely outdated information, and none of us were paying attention.
Hmm.
So that's most people. And then they get their information from scrolling on social media. They don't know what's what. They're confused. And then that's where we come in, obviously, like to help clear things up for them because they are confused and they don't know what to do. Um, but yeah, tracking is like, it's one of the best things. And it's not something that you need to do forever. Some people like to. I like to track my food, but I don't make my clients track their food forever. That's not
Hmm.
realistic. I eventually want to transition them away from it. But like you said, your client had developed those skills to be able to kind of start to do that. You got to kind of like put in the reps first and, learn, and then you can transition away.
Hmm. And one thing, I mean, a few things I want to touch upon there, but the one that I feel so strongly about that you mentioned is the amount of influencers that talk about whether it's mindful eating and intuitive eating, which isn't even a diet, which is a topic in itself, but intuitive eating or mindful eating and all these more qualitative rather than quantitative focal points, who, like you said, have a background in whether it's physique competitions or high level athletics, strength sports, very meticulous tracking that goes alongside all that. Currently, they are extremely active, 10,000 steps a day, 4 hard training sessions a week, 3 hours of zone 2 cardio. They maintain on 2,500. They also don't drink and have a meal prep like company send them all their meals, talking about just listening to your body when a woman that I work with might maintain on 1,500 and there's a fucking salad at the Cheesecake Factory that's 1,600.
Oh
It's
my gosh.
like it's I'm not saying it's bad advice for everybody. It just feels dishonest to me to not say. You could even, I don't want to get on too much of a tangent here, but it could even be reframed as, hey, here's how I got here, and am I able to maintain on these higher calories, and here's how I weaned off of precise tracking. That to me would be better than just, hey, jump straight to the step that most people, like, I don't want to say have no business doing, but it sets them up for failure to think you can circumvent all of this base building and this knowledge accumulation.
Yes, I think that ultimately the goal is definitely like I don't have to track my food. I just like to because I really do like to know like okay, like am I getting enough protein? Am I getting enough fiber? Like, like that matters a lot to me because it makes me feel good. So, but I don't have to. But I
Mm-hmm.
also have studied nutrition for a very long time and also tracked my food for a very long time. So I have practiced that skill. I have honed in on it, fine tuned it. So then at some point, when people have done that and put in that time, they can feel more comfortable in their choices. They see, like, oh, okay, like this is what a balanced high protein, high fiber meal looks like. And you can start to even see like, my clients will tell me like, oh, I kind of know like with the plates that I use, like, putting certain things on the plate, like I know what the portions are now that work for me. And they have
Incredible.
staple meals. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I said incredible. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah.
so, like I have this one lady, she has so much on her plate right now. Like her mom is very sick and she's just stressed with work and just stressed with everything. And I was just like, listen, like just it's okay. Like she has staple meals under her belt, which is why I always talk about repeating meals. It's so helpful. Ones you enjoy. I don't say eat food you don't like. But she has her staple meals in her back pocket. She kind of like gravitates towards those same things that she knows that she likes, and she doesn't have to worry as much. Like, yes, maybe like when things calm down a little bit, she'll be able to really start tracking a little bit more diligently. But she felt like this big sigh of relief when I met with her and we were talking, and I was like, just it's okay. Like try and focus on protein and plants as much as possible. Get in walks when and where you can. And she was like, she felt good. And she's actually been making progress doing that. And she's so
Amazing.
happy about that.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is,
you know,
yeah, that's incredible. And obviously a testament to you as a coach to meet her, not that you need my stamp of approval, but to meet her where she's at and say, like, okay, again, the goal isn't being perfect with tracking or hitting certain macros and doing all these things. You're telling me you want to feel this. This is what's on your plate. Let's find another avenue that allows us to reach that same outcome. And it doesn't have to look any one way. As always,
yes,
expectations need to be in line with the approach. And as
yes.
as as we've both seen, a lot of people want to go very non-precise, but have goals and expectations that are far more in line with a very strict, precise approach. We always have to match the two. But again, I think
Yes.
that's a great example of keeping the goal the goal. This woman, to my understanding, is not trying to step on a bodybuilding stage. We have a bit of
No,
flexibility, bit of
no.
flexibility with how we go about things.
Yes.
Brooke, one other thing you said that I think is really important for people to hear is that you don't have to track, but you do it because you like it and also because you want to make sure you're getting enough protein or enough fiber. And I think that's really important to highlight because, like I said earlier in the episode, I think a lot of people only think of nutrition as like a vehicle for weight loss, and same thing for tracking. Like, oh, I break up my Fitness Pal when I want to lose weight, and then I delete the app. I gain the weight back. I download my Fitness Pal again. You're talking about tracking to see what you can add to your day so that you can feel
Yes.
better, which I think is foreign to a lot of people.
It is. And I think that, like, yes, it's not just for losing weight. It's for making sure you're getting adequate nutrition, like making sure that you're fueling yourself properly. Like, my workouts will suffer if I am not fueling my body properly. So I sometimes, especially like if I'm particularly stressed, we all have periods where we might be a little bit more stressed, and stress actually will make me tend to not eat as much. Just that's just how I am. It's like harder for me to eat when I'm very stressed. So I make sure I'm like, okay, like, I need to make sure I'm getting my protein, I'm getting my fiber. That might mean that maybe I'm supplementing with some powder or something just because it's harder for me to eat as much as I might normally. But I want to make sure that I'm getting what I need. And I think that if people look at it from that lens, it makes it, I don't know, like one of my clients described it as like gamifying it, like he likes the numbers,
Sure.
like I don't know, like, and I guess whatever helps you to like make it less of a burden, but also like, oh, okay, like you had mentioned about budgeting and like, finances and stuff. It's like if you want to save money, you have to budget. If you have certain goals, you have to kind of like monitor and measure things. Otherwise, like, how can you efficiently and effectively get there?
Yeah. It's like it's still technically possible. I mean, I always bark
Yeah.
about this in my content where I'm like, it's technically possible, but if you could not leave it to chance by just spending a few minutes per day on something, I'm choosing that route, you know, 11 times out of 10, for sure. And
Yeah.
I think one other thing that's important for people to keep in mind with tracking, because like I said, I think most people's experience with it is that it's this very lengthy thing that is weight loss centric, is that tracking to me also has value as an occasional pulse check. So, for example, myself, I kind of track in seasons because if I'm
Mhm.
not tracking, I find that just, I guess, my dietary preferences lend themselves to not a lot of carbs. Obviously, not because I think they're bad. My palate just, carbs I can kind of do without, and then more moderate fat and protein. But for my performance goals, and indirectly my muscle building goals, my, just all the things that come with that, it makes more sense for me to be, say, low to moderate fat, jack up the carbs a little bit more. So periodically I'll break out tracking even for, the first 2 or 3 weeks of a new workout program for the same reason as you, just to make sure that I'm getting enough for my goals. And I think of it as exactly as I just said, as a pulse check. It's not,
Yeah.
okay, here comes my Fitness Pal, here comes chronometer, this is a 6 month endeavor. It's just to, okay, that the routine that I'm currently in, the cycle of meals that I'm in, where's that putting me? Oops, okay, I'm not even getting 150 grams of carbs per day. For my goals, I
Yeah.
should be having 300 grams of carbs. So let me jack up those portions, get refamiliarized with what that looks like on my plate. Okay, now I can step away from tracking a little bit. So it doesn't
Yeah.
always have to be this, either, I guess a recurring theme here. It doesn't have to be this all in super intense thing or you're taking a major breather. Tracking can look so many different ways.
Yeah, it can. And like you said, it's like a pulse check, or I tell people it's a tool you can take out and put back as needed. You
Hmm.
can track 1 day a week if you want after you've transitioned away just to kind of stay fresh. There's all different things that you can do with it.
Yeah.
But I do think it is like one of the best tools we have, at our disposal. And I know for a fact that I've had, and I'm sure you have too, have had people come from all different types of diets with like rules. They're afraid to eat fruit. They're afraid to eat carbs. They're afraid to eat outside of a window and like all these. And it's like tracking kind of just takes that away. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can honestly eat just, they say like, normally and still
Hmm.
reach my goals and feel good and be perfectly healthy and nothing is off the table, but it just teaches you like, about portion sizes, and it kind of takes like the whole good and bad food thing off the table
Yes.
too. And one of my clients said it perfectly too the other day. She was like, because no foods are off limits, it makes them less enticing. And I was like, yes, yes, I talk about this. She said
Amazing.
it like so perfectly. And I was like, oh my gosh, exactly.
Yes.
I loved that.
Yes. Oh, that's incredible. Oh, I know how that feels as a coach. You're like, yes, like that's amazing. Because then you don't go back from there. That person now, the rest of their lives, knows that, like, oh, this is fine. Of course, it's a moderation thing, portion calorie wise, but anything's fair game. And I'm glad you mentioned a lot of the non-tracking alternatives that people will put themselves through of just blindly saying, not going to have sugar, not going to have carbs, can't eat in or outside of this window, all these other things, because tracking is tedious. But if you line all these up for me, okay, once you get good at it, spending maybe 3 to 5 days, or excuse me, days, no, 3 to 5 minutes per
I knew
day.
what you were going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, 3 to 5 minutes per day, just staying in touch with my intake. But then everything's fair game, or suffering through any of these other 800 alternatives. I'm taking that couple minute pulse check per day. So I'm not saying it's all, like, even as people like us who enjoy the nutritional science and the data, I recognize not everybody's like that. But even if you're not super eager to track, it still sucks less than virtually anything else that you can do. So just something else for people to keep in mind.
You're totally right. And something that I really appreciate with your messaging, and I know that you had even talked about this on a podcast recently, is because we are in the holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that this is a time of year that people tend to just completely write off. And you always talk about, and I like the way you say it, it's like, starting when things are hard, jump in now, because you need to learn how to handle these times. They're not going anywhere, and that's something that I've always really liked about your messaging. You talk about that often.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
yeah, no, but it's so true. And so if I have someone come to me like who wants to start now, I'm like, yeah, good for you. And I tell them, I'm like, you have no idea like how this is so good that you're doing this. Like, and they're like, thank you. And I'm like, no, really, like you have to understand, like most people would wait until January, but you're not doing that. So you're gonna be in such a better place now, like starting now than you would be if you put it off until January.
100%. I mean, like you said, I talk about it often, but these two things could not be any more at odds with each other. Number one, hey, I want to break out of the all or nothing cycle. Number two, but also I want to wait for things to settle down so I can fully commit. Like, which is it? It can't be both. Because if you're saying that you want to break out of the all or nothing cycle, you need to, exactly as you mentioned, Brooke, learn how to navigate, whether it's the holiday season or, and then it always segues into things are nuts in the new year. And then it's, well, we're traveling this spring and then gearing up for summer. The summer's crazy. I'm like, hey, when's this settle down thing going to happen? And even if it does, it's 3 weeks and then things
Right.
pick up. So you rid yourself of the opportunity to learn how to navigate real life every time you keep kicking the can down the road. And the other thing, and I'm pulling up my calculator here, I think there are 6 weeks left in the year. Let's pretend that you had 3 holiday get togethers, like every Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the next 6 weeks. Obviously, that's 18 meals. Now, bear with me, 6 times 42. Let's say 3 times, or excuse me, I'm trying to do this fast, so I'm messing up. Let's say there are 42 days ish left in the year. I'm ballparking it, and you're eating 3 times a day. You would have roughly 126 meals left. That means that 85, even if you had something every Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, the rest of the year, 85% of your meals would still be just completely regular meals. So when you throw this blanket thing like, oh, the holidays, I'm like, yeah, the holidays at most are, of course, maybe people are traveling. There are certain exceptions to this, but generally speaking, it's not more than 15% of the rest of the year. So why not learn how to navigate not only the holidays themselves, but learn how to not let those gaps in between get away from you, which is, I think, what really gets people. It's not, you can honestly, like, have a single day bender just about every week and probably get away with it to some degree for maintenance if you keep the other days tight. I think the tricky
Yeah.
part for a lot of people is the Saturday night family get together trickles into Sunday morning, trickles into not planning for Monday, and then all of a sudden it's a 3 day impact of a single day event.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that Saturday night or even like Thursday happy hour can bleed
Yes.
into Sunday brunch and then it's like, well, like that's where the
Yeah.
problem lies. And I think when, you kind of that light bulb moment goes off where it's like, oh yeah, like there's plenty of time in between the celebrations. Like I don't have to just completely toss all of my goals out the window. I mean, because this is a time of year people tend to gain weight like every single
Mhm.
year. So, and I was talking to someone else the other day. I was talking to one of my clients and I was like, not this year. And she was like, not this year. Like, and it's like empowering, I think, to even say that, not this year. Like, not this
Mhm.
time, not going to happen. And I think the way that you like speak about things, like, I will do this. I'm not going to try, like, I will. I think that also really makes a big difference too. Mindset is a big thing.
For sure. That phrasing to me, remind yourself that you're in complete control. Like you don't owe, and I think it was, I don't know if you know Britt Rand. She's a wonderful, wonderful coach. And I remember, I mean, clearly it resonated. She posted this maybe 3 years ago. She said that there's nothing more personal of a decision than what you choose to put into your body. You do not know and excuse me, you do not owe anybody anything in a social setting. You don't owe your partner a drink so they feel more comfortable drinking. You don't
Nope.
owe somebody's aunt a bite of a cookie. You get to decide what you put in your body. And if they feel insecure about that, that is completely their problem. And if you wrestle with that, just flip it. Would you ever take issue with somebody else not putting something into their body that you want them to? Like that's such a weird thing to think about. So just I love that phrasing because again, to me, it reminds people you're always, always, always in control. Yes, there are, social norms and expectations, and I'm not saying you don't have to kind of play the game sometimes, but to throw away these large chunks of time catering to other people's needs.
No, and it's true. If someone is making you feel bad about taking care of yourself, it's like that really does say more about them. And I always ask my clients, I'm like, does this person have their shit together? No.
That's a good audit.
All
I like
well, but
that.
it's true though. It's like, where is this coming from? Because no one who is in a good place will ever make anybody feel bad about taking care of themselves. No, no way. So I always ask them that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, no." And it's
I
it's
love
powerful for them to like think about it that way, and they're like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "Yeah,
it. Enough said. Just drops the mic right there. Okay.
well,
just gonna
but
just
it's
gonna point
true."
that out. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I think it's a
Um,
powerful thing to talk about with people.
for
Um,
sure.
yeah.
So, Brooke, there are 42,000 other things I feel like I could ask you about. But before I let you go today, before I let you off the hook, there was something I did during the first season of Transformation Talks that started as the quick six, where I would just ask people six random questions that were not about fitness or nutrition. But people got so
Okay.
passionate about it, it basically turned into like another 40-minute portion of the episode. So then I changed it to the fast five, and then eventually it got reduced to the fast four. So we're now down to the fast four. And what I generally do is I just pull from any, 10 random questions or so that do not have to do with nutrition. So before I let you
Okay.
go today, I'd love to hit you with these four random questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one, what would you be doing if you were not a registered dietitian and nutrition coach?
Oh my gosh, I love that question. So I'm really into bird watching.
Okay. I think I've
I
seen the
am.
gear for it on Instagram, right? Like, am I thinking of glasses, binoculars? I have something in my head.
Oh,
Like,
I do. My mom actually
okay.
just got me a pair of binoculars. And I even just got a bird feeder with a camera. Like I am literally morphing into a 90-year-old woman and I'm kind of okay with it. But yeah, I love bird watching. So like I would probably want to like travel around and like go all over and look for different birds, like exotic birds and take pictures of them. And I also really like taking photographs of abandoned buildings, but that's like a whole other very
Okay.
weird. I but
No, I feel like that's a cool aesthetic. I feel like I know the vibe that you're talking about. It can be cool.
that's what I would do.
And so the birds, this is a rabbit hole. I am currently very fascinated by harpy eagles. By any chance, you know what those are?
No.
It's one of the biggest birds in the world. It's located in the Amazon, and I'm currently working on a jungle themed leg sleeve. Yeah, wait, if you look it up, wait till you see the talons. I'm gonna make it up. It's like 6 inches. It's insane. And
Ooh,
they're located in the Amazon, and I'm halfway through a jungle themed leg sleeve, and I have some real estate left. So I was looking at different animal options, and there are these freaky looking things. They have almost like a mane that they can flare up to look more intimidating. When they're born,
cool.
they're white, but then when they get older, they go from it's like a black, gray, white kind of thing. Yeah, bit of a rabbit hole, but I'm super in on that right now.
I wrote that down. I'm going to look that up. And I actually, before we move away from birds, I saw a bald eagle the other day in the wild.
That
Like,
seems fake. That doesn't happen. Where
no, it does.
Connecticut?
Not,
No,
yeah, yeah.
I don't know where
So
in my head they're based, but for some reason it's not Connecticut. I don't know though.
they're here, and I was like, I'm never gonna see one. But I did in a tree, and I was driving and I almost got into an accident because I was like, oh, but yeah, I got so excited. I mean, I love like that was the coolest thing ever. But anyway, so
Yeah, that sounds magical. That's
it
incredible.
was.
Actually, I this is not typically part of the quick six, fast five, or now fast four, but for you personally, I added it. What are your two favorite tattoos that you have? I know it can be difficult to pick one, which is why I'm going to say you can choose two.
Ah, okay, yeah, that is really tough. I mean, I think my favorite one ever is probably Betty. I don't know if you could see.
Yeah, I can.
Ooh, yeah. So
It's in focus.
that is that is probably my first favorite. It's oh, and my Tony Soprano tattoo on
Is
the
that
back
like
of my leg.
is that a portrait?
Yeah.
What style is that? Like a realism?
Traditional.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Ooh,
I would say like I would try and like get my leg out and show you,
that's,
but yeah,
that
I
might be
have
difficult.
I have Tony Soprano on the back of like my leg. It's like almost like my whole right lower leg.
Wow, I don't know
So,
that's fun. Yeah, that's fun.
yeah, yeah.
I think you and I are both in a similar, like, I guess, like in our tattoo collecting journey, we're at a similar spot where it's just, is this cool? Do I like it? Okay, sure. Like, let's just go with it. Not everything has to be that deep. I think we've talked about that a little bit on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah, and that definitely isn't. I mean, Sopranos is like my favorite show, and people like they'll see it and they're like, "Is that Tony Soprano?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's a great conversation starter. I'll say that.
No,
But yeah, I do love tattoos. I want to get more eventually, but like right now, we just put an addition on our house, so we're kind of like trying to pay that off right now. But eventually, I will be back for more.
sure, sure. Question number three, Brooke. If you could teleport anywhere in the world right now, you snap your fingers and you're there, where would you go?
I know this is going to sound corny, but it would be with my mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Corny's fine.
Yeah.
Corny's
No,
fine.
I miss her. I wish I lived closer to her. She's like 2 hours away from me. So if I could go hang out with my mom, that's where I would go probably, just because, I wish I could see her more. So
Yeah, that's a great answer. And if somebody thinks that's corny, fuck them. That's fine.
yeah, fuck them.
Last question for you. One meal for the rest of your life, and based on flavor and enjoyment. We're not trying to check nutritional boxes here. Just you have to sit down and eat the same meal 3 times a day for the rest of your life.
Oh my God. That is a great question, Sam.
It's
Well,
hard to.
that's very hard. I am torn between ice cream and pizza.
Okay. Do you have a favorite type of each?
So I don't know if you know, but like Connecticut supposedly has some of the best pizza like
That does
ever.
that does sound familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's a couple of really good spots in New Haven, which is like not far from me, that I would probably pick as my pizza. And ice cream, that's tough. I like so much. I like this lemon pie. It's called lemon pie ice cream from a local ice cream shop, Ashley's. And it's got like pieces of like almost like pie crust. Like I love lemon and it's the texture, the flavor, it's so perfect. But I like so many ice cream flavors. I could probably talk to you for another hour about
I
ice
can feel
cream.
your passion. I feel it.
I also have an ice cream tattoo, but you know,
Oh,
so
I do
that,
remember that one. That's a fun tattoo.
yeah, yeah. But
Um,
yeah, it would be ice cream or pizza.
okay, two very acceptable answers. Brooke, you're finally off the hook today. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on. This was as fun and as helpful as I expected. You put out such phenomenal information. And on that note, what is the best place for people to find out more about you, to see your content, to learn more? Where should we send people?
Well, Sam, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure and an honor. And if you wanted to find me, I'm on Instagram at Well Balanced with Brooke. So I'd love to see you there.
Okay, wonderful. I will add that to the show notes. Brooke, thank you again, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you, Sam.